Whip of the majority party, the chair of chairs, leader of opposition, members of the staff, members of the public in the gallery, good morning and welcome to our city. Honorable members, we will now move to item 2, which is motions. Are there any motions without notice in terms of House Rule 145? Honorable Pala.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the Democratic.
Yes, you are requested, Honorable Pala, to come to the podium.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that as per the Road Traffic Management Corporation, municipal traffic officers must perform their duties within their boundaries of municipality. Further note that municipal traffic officials enforce compliance of National Road Traffic Act, National Land Transport Act, and Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences Act. They control traffic, inspect vehicles for roadworthiness, and enforce road traffic signs and rules on the road. Honorable Speaker, it is therefore for this House that it should find it disappointing that the Mayor of Makurutamaga unashamedly praised local law enforcement officials in the media on an initiative to fill potholes on the busy Janifers main road in February 2023. Maintenance of local roads fall under the Department of Infrastructure in Makurutamaga Municipality, headed by Councillor Makgetlane Motlhala. The Mayor should berate and hold to account Councillor Motlhala for poor performance and the poor condition of the Janifers roads and allow traffic officials to implement law enforcement. I so move.
Any seconder to the motion? Honorable Usman, yes, come forward.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I stand to second the motion as read by Honourable Parler. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any motions without notice? Honorable Sewana.
Sishoka. You saw the pampiri because go hana go shumisha printer. Honorable Speaker, I, Mashibel Bekasono, I rise on behalf of the ANC to applaud and thank an intelligence-driven joint operation comprising of Provincial Organized Crime Investigation Unit and Crime Intelligence Counter-Narcotics Unit, which led to the arrest of 3 suspects for possession of and dealing with drugs. These 3 suspects, aged between 34 and 44, were arrested during separate incidents in the city of Polokwane for dealing and in possession of drugs worth thousands of rands. It is reported that on Saturday, the 4th of March 2023, the operatives followed up on information regarding suspected distribution of different drugs at the parks near schools across the city. Observation was done by the organized crime and crime intelligence at the identified areas, and 2 males were spotted carrying 2 refuse bags. The suspects were stopped and searched. The following items were found concealed inside the bags: 227 sachets of heroin, 21 sachets of crystal meth, and 15 sachets of cat. The two main Nigerian nationals, ages 34 and 40, were then apprehended. During the similar operation that was conducted on the 1st of March 2023, another suspect, aged 44, was also arrested in the Polokwane CBD. This comes after information was received regarding a foreign male Nigerian national suspected to be selling drugs at the taxi rank. During the arrest, the suspect was found in possession of 370 sachets of heroin, 5 sachets of crystal meth, and an undisclosed amount of cash. We would like to thank these units for their dedication in ensuring that we have a drug-free society and further encourage them to continue with their steady work of fighting any form of crime. And I move accordingly, Honorable Speaker.
Thanks, Honorable Minister. Honorable Khanyan.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I, like Maria Lekhanyani, hereby move for the adoption of the motion. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any motions? Without notice, Honorable Mabode.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive, my colleagues in the House, and all protocol observed. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters to move a motion without notice that on the 3rd of March, the EFF, when it celebrated the birthday of the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, we handed over a brand new car to Mabedi Queen, the Queen Mother. And we also donated water because she stayed for quite long without the ANC government providing her with water. And therefore the EFF values the role played by traditional leadership in society, more especially in providing leadership and stimulating development in our communities. We praise Maparangwe with the role that they are playing in bringing dignity in our own various villages. The ANC government is hell-bent on destroying traditional leadership through its own acts. The current bills that are issued disrespecting Maparangwe because they think they are not Africans themselves. Therefore, if you are Africans, develop a spirit of respect to our traditional or royal houses. They go around dividing traditional leadership, illegally and criminally installing people they can use to steal the minerals of our country. They've put their stooges that they can be able to control and destroy the image of our royal houses. They embrace Western culture because they do not love themselves. They do not love their culture and they think the Western culture is superior to our own African culture. We need a government that respects its own heritage and cultural values. We need a Pan-African government that respects and understands the cultural values of our people. We didn't stop there during the celebration of our birthday of our the Chief of Economic Freedom Fighters. We gave Sutola Khwangwana ya Tsari, wore ifele itsolela ba moshate, wore re ntse ba tlhabela ba pedi le ditšhaba tša bona metsi madi a konyana a theowe, wore EFF will govern this Limpopo. Thank you very much. I so move.
Any supplement to the motion? Honorable Shoka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand here to second the motion as presented by Honorable Mapolo. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable MEC Manama.
Thanks very much, Honorable Speaker, and members of the House. I rise on behalf of the African National Congress to reject the motion as tabled because it's contaminated. There was a nobleness in the motion, of course, but in line with the procedure, the decorum, and residuum of the House, that motion is contaminated because it's saying other things which are ridiculous and vexatious. And as such, I rise to dismiss that motion, that it should be rejected with the content it says. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Honorable MEC. The motion is objected. Honorable members, the motion presented by the EFF is objected. Can we move to another item? I have seen any motion, Honorable Ndaka.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, can you allow Honorable Ndaka to proceed?
With deep sympathy, I rise on behalf of the African National Congress to send messages of condolences to the families of the 16 victims who sadly died in a horrific motor vehicle accident on Road R579 in Mutetema near Kwebrasdar on Friday the 3rd of March 2023. The accident is suspected to have happened when a minibus taxi collided head-on with a truck and another minibus taxi after overtaking unsafely. One of the minibus taxis involved was unfortunately transporting learners to the school. Drivers of both minibus taxis and 6 learners are amongst the people who died. May the departed souls rest in peace. We also wish speedy recovery to those who sustained injuries during this horrific accident. We call upon all our provincial government to continue giving both families the necessary support during these trying times. Honorable Speaker, we further extend our heartfelt condolences to the families of 3 victims who died in a separate accident on the R71 road near Hamakanye in the Makwen area. This happened when a truck driver ignored a stop sign and collided with a light motor vehicle and sadly killing all the occupants of the light motor vehicle. We continue to plead with motorists to exercise highest level of patience on the road and also obey the rules of the road at all times. I move accordingly, Honorable Speaker.
Thanks, Honorable Ndaka. Any seconded to the motion? Honorable Sengani.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I, Chair Selane, hereby seconding the motion as presented by Honorable Ndaka.
Thank you very much. Any motions without notice? Without notice, in terms of House Rule 145, Honorable Pana.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on behalf of the DA that this House notes and send condolences on the passing of a young Chitsonga comedian and entertainer, Dwanano Maraji Ngoveni, who passed away in late February 2023 and was laid to rest in Gaula village this past Sunday, 5th of March 2023. The young energetic influencer was also a singer of Chitsonga music. His death has robbed the province of his talent, and may his efforts within the entertainment industry live on. I so move.
Thank you very much. Any second? Honorable Smiley.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to second the motion.
Thank you very much. Any motions without notice? Thank you very much. It seems as if we are done with the motion without notice. May I suggest, honorable members, that we all rise and observe the moment of silence on those who passed away. May their souls rest in peace. Thank you very much. You will all be seated. Let's proceed to item 3. Are there any notices of motions in terms of House Rule 146? None. Item 4. Any statement by members in terms of Rule 200? Honorable Mphahlele.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting that ANC leaders does not have the moral compass or even ethics to lead the society. The mayor of Mulemule local municipality, Mr. Edward Paya, is accused of sexual harassment and unfair labor practice against a junior staff member from the municipality in exchange of promotional post. This is a clear abuse of power and position by the mayor. But of course, we are not surprised as the culture of women abuse is a norm in the ANC. Sex for work is very rife, both in the ANC municipality and government department, and broadly speaking, the entire administration. The gender-based violence against women must stop because it is against societal values and principles. But the painful truth is that it also degrades and worsens the values of a woman. Political position cannot be used to violate the right of and the dignity of a woman in a society that is grappling with a serious problem. We need to conduct a moral lifestyle audit to all politicians who are currently occupying key positions in the municipalities, government departments, and entities. Society cannot be led by people who lack self-respect because they will not respect society as they lead them on a daily basis. Our people deserve better. And it is for this reason that the EFF will continue to expose those shenanigans. Finally, we call upon the NEC of Safety and License to investigate this matter in order to give the complainant a recourse. I thank you.
Any member statement? Honorable Smiley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Good morning, Honourable Premier, members of the Executive, Honourable members, officials and members in the gallery. It is of grave concern that on the 23rd of February 2023, South Africa was grey-listed by the Financial Action Task Force, especially considering the other economic headwinds the country is facing, and particularly because South Africa could have avoided the situation. The Treasury, which chairs an interdepartmental committee of AML, CFT, CPF, that is overseeing and coordinating a comprehensive response plan in this regard, indicated that these weaknesses are relatively easy to address as they relate to the changing laws and putting systems in place. From a risk mitigation standpoint, a scenario of assuming the worst when the event materializes remains a plausible course of action for both fiduciaries of clients, monies, and clients themselves. Can the Honourable MEC for Treasury please share with this House what mitigating measures has been put in place to safeguard the 200 billion rand foreign investment announced by the Premier during his two SOPA addresses, specifically taking into account South Africa's current lack of attractiveness as an investment destination, the negative capital flow emanating from being grey-listed, the enhanced due diligence which negatively affects the ease and cost of doing business, complications as a result of not being able to fairly participate in these global financial markets and systems, and the cost of capital going up. I thank you.
Thank you. Any member statement? Honorable Mananga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm Managa Lillian, deployed in this August House by the Economic Freedom Fighters. Greetings to you, Speaker, and also allow me to greet the Premier, all MECs present, all honorable members who are here today, heads and representatives of different departments, as well as our staff members and members who are seated in the gallery. I want to present the member statement titled The State of Maputa Malaji Hospital. Yes. Yes. Honorable Speaker, the state of healthcare in this province is shocking and it's in a very bad state. The contractor has locked the new outpatient department building at Maputa Malaji Hospital in Namahale Palabua district in Mopane, which he was refurbishing. Why? Because of the outstanding payments. The project was started way back in 2011, and like many other projects in the province, the project is not yet complete. The project now requires about 90 million to complete the OPD building of Maputa Malaji Hospital. There are expensive machines, radiography machine, for example, that should be working to assist patients, but they are there gathering dust and rust inside that outpatient department building. Patients are denied access to medical assistance because of failure by the department to pay the contractors. The hospital now uses the temporary shacks and caravans while patient burns in a hot sun, especially during summer, because Palabua is extremely hot during summer. It's worse during rainy days. The MEC must not shift the blame to the Public Works Department. Her department is also involved in terms of making sure that the part of hospital is completed with any glitches within the agreed time frame. There is no political will at all to adopt nor to embrace good governance practices in the current administration. It is for this reason that things have gone from bad to worse in recent times. We call upon the MEC for Health, Dr. Popirama Tuba, to investigate this matter and provide lasting solution to the people of Palabua. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The DA has noted National Treasury's intention to stop a possible 283 million grant funding to Polokwane Municipality by invoking Section 18 of the Division of Revenue Act, which would possibly see Treasury stop funds to the various grants, totaling a staggering 283 million. 97 million from Integrated Urban Development Grant, 8 million from Neighborhood Development Partnership Grant, 47 million from Public Transport Network Grant, 23 million from Integrated National Electrification Program Grant, 20 million from Water Services Infrastructure Grant, 4 million from Energy Efficiency and Demand Side Management, 77.3 million from Regional Bulk Infrastructure Grant. Treasury cites under performance and non-compliance as response for this decision. The latest letter comes from Treasury, came after an amount of 142 million was not approved in November 2022 for rollover regarding the 2021-2022 financial year, and just days after a downward budget adjustment of 60 million for capital projects for the current 2022-2023 financial year. Honorable Speaker, the same municipality, coupled with its relevant directors, alongside its municipal manager responsible for the poor performance, are now expected to motivate why the grant funding should be allocated. Residents of Polokwane can no longer be subjected to the municipality's incompetence. The MEC of Coxstar must be transparent to this House and explain on how accountability and proper consequences will be implemented.
Thank you very much. Any member statement? Done. May I check from the members of the executive if they are ready to respond to the member statement? Honorable MEC Razilani, Honorable MEC Dr. Ramatuba, Honorable MEC Squati. We will follow each other. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and good morning to Honorable Premier, Honorable MECs, the Chief Whip and Deputy Chief Whip, Chair of Chairs, members of this august House. Honorable Speaker, let me remind this House, especially the opposition, the EFF member who came here and pointed a finger to the ANC, that ANC is a political organization, of course, with electoral mandate to govern. When there are allegations leveled against its members, it is quite aware that their government institutions charged with constitutional mandate to investigate and effect arrest if it's proper to do so. So let's allow law enforcement officers to do their work without political influence. And we must also appreciate, Honorable Speaker, that anyone remains innocent until proven guilty. And I want to assure you, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Premier, that there is no one who is alleged to have contravened the law, the rules of this land, who will not go through the proper processes. And we also want to advise members of the EFF that the ANC has enough capacity. In January, it was celebrating its 111 years. It's the oldest movement with the necessary capacity to handle its own internal matters without even
wanting to appreciate the advice from those who are not its members. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, MEC. Honorable MEC, Dr. Ramatula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, colleagues from the executive, honorable members, members of the opposition party. Let me indicate to you that there is no need for the MEC for health or any MEC, whether it's public works, whether it's treasury, whether it's premier, to investigate the issue of Maputo Malaji. I'm saying this because, Honorable Speaker, these MECs that have indicated, led by the Premier's office, have already done our own investigations, and interventions have already been made on the issue of Maputo Malaji. We are all aware that the contractor has gone into even legal disputes with the Department of Public Works. We must also appreciate the fact that that infrastructure, unfortunately, when we start any project, we agree on terms and conditions. And if in the process of construction, there are extras that are added and there are changes that are made, they should be documented, they should be in a contract. If that is not done, it's going to be dealt with as irregular. And it will be the very same opposition party which will be saying the Premier and his executive are corrupt, they've taken the money, because the budget, initial budget for this infrastructure was so much, but why is it now escalated? So all legal issues that involved that contract must be followed, and the Premier's office, through their legal unit, have already assisted, and the Public Works and Health, and including Treasury, have met. And this 90 million that you are talking about is an extra, it's not the original budget of this particular infrastructure. And this government, it's very much dedicated, the MEC for Public Works, it's hands-on when it comes to completion of this facility, and we should be expecting that this facility will be, because it's almost more than 90% completion. Not only did we end there, Treasury has already started the issue of forensic investigation, so that we can find out who has changed the terms and who has worked with the contractor without following the law. Because as the ANC-led government, we frown when it comes to corruption. We're talking about real corruption, we're not talking about your perception. So we will be able to deal with this matter, and this facility will be ready very soon for occupation by the people of Bapalawuru. And as for the other issue where he says the health has gone to the west, you are the one who knows very well how much we have improved in terms of running our facilities and how health services is being run. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The provincial treasurer with MEC Squad.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, Honorable Premier, members of this august House. Let me start with the last one, Madam Speaker, in terms of what is it that we are doing as a country, but also as a province, to make sure that we are able to mitigate against the grey listing. And I thought the Minister of Finance, Minister Gudungan, has already responded to sites that out of the 67 recommendations that were made in 2021, all but about only 8 strategic interventions that are left that still need to be dealt with. However, there were also areas that we have already started in dealing with those complex financial crimes. For instance, the Money Laundering, Anti-Money Laundering Act and other acts that actually support that, but also to make sure that at least we are able to start ensuring that those law enforcement agencies are actually capacitated to deal with such complex matters. And we have seen how the Minister of Finance have allocated resources to those bodies to make sure that they are able to go into investigations. But equally, we have already seen such acts going into, such acts being implemented where a number of areas have already been investigated, and whoever were the culprits were brought to book. So we believe that as a country we are ready to deal with the issue of grey listing, especially when it's given until 2025. We believe that we should have been ready by then to be able to deal with those issues that have been raised. Obviously, it's indeed providing a risk in terms of many other complex criminal acts that relates to finances. However, it is important to note that it is not that this government is folding its arms. There's a lot of work that is actually being done in that area. In terms of the area that was raised by Honorable Phala, that relates to the municipality of Polokwane, the City of Stars, we are aware that the National Treasury, in terms of its function, because Polokwane is not a delegated municipality, so the National Treasury is the one that monitors but also deals with the municipality and support them. They have given a notice to the municipality that they are going to withhold certain amounts of monies related to grant funding, those areas that have not been, that do not seemingly show any movement in terms of being utilized in implementation of certain programs. However, it has not been a conclusion that National Treasury is withdrawing that. What is to happen is that it's a process where the municipality of Polokwane is still to write back to National Treasury and confirm in terms of what the National Treasury has actually written to them, but also be able to say in which areas are they ready in terms of commitment, in terms of those resources, but secondly, which projects are already underway in terms of the money that or allocations that have been made in grant funding, and the municipality again must be able to come to the National Treasury and say, this is how much we believe that will not be able to utilize. And it's only on those bases that the National Treasury will then make an assessment as to whether what the municipality is saying, is it honest or is it workable enough for them to be able to withhold the funds. Now, if the municipality is able to give evidence that they have already committed the funds, service providers have already been appointed, and the work is underway. Therefore, National Treasury will then look as to how much actual amount that will then have to be taken away or withheld from the municipality. So it's not a foregone conclusion that the amount that has been stated is actually going to be taken away from the municipality. I thought it's important just to outline the process so that we're able to understand as to what exactly is happening. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. Are there any executive statement? None. Meaning we are proceeding to item 6, any tabling of committee report, other reports and papers. Let's move to item 7, orders of the day. The tabling of the 2021-2022 annual report for Limpopo Economic Development Agency, together with the written explanation for non-submission on time. The Honorable MEC for Economic Development, Environment and Tourism, Honorable MEC Munama.
Thanks very much, Honorable Madam Speaker, Honorable Premier of our province, Honorable MECs, Chair of Chairs of our committees in the August House, Chairpersons of committees, members of this August House, ladies and gentlemen, HODs present, CEO present. Thanks very much, Madam Speaker. On behalf of LEDA Group and in my capacity as the shareholder of the entity, I regret to table the LEDA annual report for the financial year ending 31st of March 2022 after due date. The delay arose out of investigation of irregularities within one of the LEDA subsidiaries called New Era Life Insurance. I wish to take this opportunity profusely apologize for the late tabling of LEDA annual report for the financial year under review. And on behalf of the LEDA, I hereby request the Honorable Speaker and this Honorable House to refer the report to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts for further investigation on this maladministration in that subsidiary, and to be part of the SCOPA public hearings that will be taking place. Thanks very much, Honorable Speaker and honorable members.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The report is referred to the Portfolio Committee on Economic Development, Environment and Tourism and SCOPA for consideration and to report back to the House. Item 6.2, tabling of the 2021-2022 annual report for Gateway Airport Authority Limited, together with written explanation for non-submission on time, the Honorable MEC for Transport and Community Safety, Honorable MEC Razina.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the House, our Honorable Premier, colleagues in the Executive, the Chief Whip and the Deputy Chief Whip, the Chair of Chairs, members of this August House, government officials, and members of, because the entity could not finalize its financial statements in time. The Auditor General granted the entity a 2-month extension to finalize its financial statements, and this has since yielded positive results. Honorable Speaker, despite the late submission, we are pleased to announce that the audit opinion has since improved from an adverse audit outcome to a qualified audit outcome, which is a great improvement on the part of the entity. I move accordingly, Honorable Speaker.
Thanks, Honorable MEC. The report is referred to the Portfolio Committee on Transport and Community Safety at SCOPA for consideration and to be reported back to the House. Thanks very much. Let's move to item 7. 7.1. Motions for the recognition of the Leader of Opposition, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Good morning to honorable members, Honorable Premier, honorable members of the Executive Council, members of the Provincial Legislature. Provincial Secretary of the ANC. Good morning.
Honorable Chief Whip, you are visiting your mic on?
Oh, yeah, okay. Am I audible now, Honorable Speaker? Madam Speaker, Section 116, subsection 2D of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa provides that a provincial legislature must provide for the recognition of the leader of the largest opposition party in the legislature as the leader of the opposition. In line with the provision of the above legislation, I therefore move that this House resolve to recognize Honorable Maraga Chilizi Aniki of the Economic Freedom Fighters as the leader of opposition in this House. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Any second? Honorable Sishola.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand here without hesitation to second the motion as presented by the Honorable Chief Whip. Thank you. Without hesitation.
Honorable Chief Whip, motion for the recognition of the chief of the official opposition and also Honorable Chief Whip with the allocations of committees. Allocation of members to committees from the opposition.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, once again. Honorable Speaker, the House will recall that in 2021, a study was conducted and a report of the Rules Committee was adopted by the House, whereby it recommended the recognition of the Chief Whip of Opposition Party. On Monday, the 6th March 2023, the Rules Committee met to consider the EFF submission to endorse one of their members as Chief Whip of the Opposition Party after the resignation of the former member, George Rapela, who was the Chief Whip of the Opposition Party. It is against this background that the House resolved to recognize Honorable Ramuluvela Mokwapeli Lecton from the EFF as the Chief Whip of the Opposition Party. At the same meeting, the EFF also, Honorable Speaker, put in a recommendation to reconfigure its allocation to portfolio committees of the legislature, which then we request that this House support. I therefore move accordingly, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Bajela, second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also stand without hesitation to second the motion as presented by the Chief.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Bajela. Reading of the Limpopo Second Adjustment Appropriation Bill B01/2023 by the Honorable MEC for Provincial Treasury, Honorable MEC Scott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Premier, members of the August House. Honorable Speaker, I request the House to consider proposals to amend the 2022-23 adjustment budget. The Minister of Finance has published Gazette number 47662 in compliance with Section 18 of Division of Revenue Act number 5 of 2022 as amended, which gives effect to the following. That the National Department of Human Settlement stops the transfer of funds amounting to 100 million for the Human Settlement Development Grant and 44.7 million for the Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant for the Limpopo Province. Therefore, the allocation for the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs has been adjusted downwards by 144.7 million from 2.761 billion to 2.616 billion. The Minister of Finance has published Gazette number 47789 in compliance with Section 18 of the Division of Revenue Act number 5 of 2022 as amended, which gives the effect of the National Health Insurance Grant as follows. The National Department of Health stops the transfer of 3 million for National Health Insurance Grant for the Limpopo Province. B, reallocation of funds from Limpopo Department of Health to Limpopo Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure for the completion of Maputa Malachi Hospital project. C, the allocation of Department of Health has been adjusted downwards by 73 million to reallocate this funding to the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure for the completion of construction work for OPD at Maputa Malachi Hospital. Therefore, the allocation for the Department of Health is adjusted downwards from 23.594 billion to 23.518 billion, and the allocation for the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure is adjusted upwards by 73.056 million from 4.354 billion to 4.427 billion. Having received the above amendments, Honorable Speaker, Provincial Treasury in terms of Section 31 of Public Finance Management Act number 1 of 1999 as amended must table the second adjustment budget to effect the changes to the provincial budget. I therefore table the Limpopo Adjustment Appropriation Bill 01/2023 to effect these adjustments, and the provincial budget will thus decrease by 147.737 million from 78.154 billion to 78 billion. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The bill is referred to the Portfolio Committee on Provincial Treasury for consideration and to report back to the House. Thanks very much. Item 7.4. First reading of the Limpopo Appropriation Bill 2023 B02/2023 by the Honorable MEC Provincial Treasury or MEC Swati.
No more papers here. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Of our provincial legislature, Honorable Rosemary Mlapo. The Deputy Speaker of the Legislature, Honorable Chitareka Matibe, Honorable Premier of our province, Ntate Chupu Matabata, Honorable members of the Executive Council, members of the Provincial Legislature, former members of the Provincial Legislature present, the leadership of the ruling party present in this House, as led by Msanda, Madaje, our provincial secretary, leaders of various opposition parties present, the chairperson of House of Traditional Leaders, le Magoshi ka moka le ngwana mo lekgono, Director General of the province and all heads of departments, members of the boards and chief executive officers of various entities present, executive mayors, and all councillors present, leaders and representatives of our Chapter 9 and 10 institutions, leaders of organized labor, faith-based civil society organizations present, captains and leaders of various industries, all leaders of sectors of youth, women, and people living with disabilities, honors guests, the people of Limpopo. Honorable Speaker, it is my honor and privilege to present before this august House the 2023-24 provincial budget and its appropriations, together with the following: the Limpopo Appropriations Bill 2023, estimates of provincial revenue and expenditure 2023, overview of provincial revenue and expenditure 2023, the socio-economic review and outlook 2023, and the supporting gazettes thereof. All Premier, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to borrow from the metaphor of the water droplets drilling through a rock as used by President Xi Jinping in his essays, Up and Out of Poverty, and I quote, "Rock and water, two opposing elements that are used to symbolize dogged stubbornness and gentle fluidity. Yet despite being gentle, water drills through solid rock over time. A single drop of water is small and insubstantial. When it hits the rock, it will die a cruel death in any battle with a rock. Yet in a brief moment of sacrifice, even though it cannot see its own value and achievements, it is embodied within the countless drops of water already fallen and the triumph of finally drilling through the rock," close quote. We are therefore presenting the 2023-24 provincial budget, fully aware of the stubbornness of the scourge of inequality, poverty and unemployment, but encouraged by the fighting spirit of the water droplets drilling through the rock. Our Premier, in his State of the Province address, reported on the many achievements that the province has accomplished and attained in a number of social and economic spheres in the midst of the economic turbulences that engulf our country. In the spirit of the water droplets drilling through the rock, we bravely went into the breach with no slightest thought of retreat, like the true resilient people of the Great North, as we are affectionately referred to by the legendary leader, O.R. Tambo. And on behalf of the people of Limpopo, I therefore want to thank you, Honorable Premier Matlatjie Hlabirwa, for helping us to navigate the socio-economic hard rock, steering this ship determinedly, with diligence, with love, and like water droplets, with steadfastness. Honorable Speaker, this budget is presented at a time when the country still continues to experience an increase in both food and energy prices. The Reserve Bank has just hiked the repo rate as it tries to stabilize inflation, and that decision has brought the repo rate to 7.25% and the prime rate to 10.75%. These have increased the burden to the fiscus, particularly in providing adequate services. That's calling for concerted efforts by the provincial government to come up with impactful interventions that can better the lives of the people of this province. We therefore present this budget to give effect to the directives and pronouncements made by the Honorable Premier in his State of the Province address. as well as advancing the work of the provincial administration in continuing to ensure that Limpopo is a better home to live in and a better place to do business. Like the water droplets draining through the rock, the provincial government continued to invest in infrastructure planning and delivery. Though we have not been able to fully realize some of the envisaged outcomes articulated in the provincial growth and development due to the recent COVID-19 outbreak and the setbacks of the recent rainstorms, considerable progress has been made in the forward planning and delivery of infrastructure. Our provincial infrastructure expenditure and delivery performance reports for the 2022-23 financial year can attest to that. On Speaker, when the dripping water takes aim at a rock, each droplet zero in on the same target and stays the course until its mission is complete. It is in this spirit that in the preparation of the 2023-24 medium-term expenditure framework and in line with the infrastructure planning framework and the Division of Revenue Act, we ensure that all sector departments are to develop and submit their infrastructure plans to both Provincial Treasury and Limpopo Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure. All outputs and initiatives were completed in line with the provincial planning framework and informed the consolidated 2023-24 provincial infrastructure readiness and implementation report, including the 2023-24 infrastructure program of action, which is to be finalized by the end of March 2023. On Speaker, an amount of 21.4 billion for the delivery of infrastructure within the province over the 2023-24 MTEF period has been allocated based on the consolidated planning work we have completed in preparation for the 2023-24 financial year. In the financial year ahead, we have allocated an amount of 7.312 billion across departments for infrastructure development as follows. The Department of Education, 1.486 billion. The Department of Health, 851.6 million. Department of Transport, 78.7 million. LEDA, 20 million. Cogstar, 1.229 billion. Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure, 3.398 billion. Department of Agriculture, 183 million. Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, 54.3 million. Department of Social Development, 10.6 million. This budget is also spread and allocated across various infrastructure investment categories. During the 2023-24 financial year, a total budget of 416.3 million or 6% is allocated towards new infrastructure, mainly for the construction of new clinics, libraries, schools, upgrades of gravel roads to tar, centers for place of safety, nature reserves, and housing development. The estimated budget allocation for rehabilitation and refurbishment is 379.3 million or 5%, while upgrading and additions of existing facilities is 1 billion or 15%, and 1.862 billion or 26% is allocated towards maintenance. Provincial Treasury, together with the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure, will continue to focus and work on areas of strategic weaknesses, especially the rate at which procurement of projects and programs for infrastructure take place, to ensure that there is a differentiated process and approach during the procurement of infrastructure. Will continue to take the lead in institutionalizing the rollout of the framework for infrastructure procurement and management and provide guidance in this regard. As part of our infrastructure delivery framework, Treasury will support the provincial government's work in just energy transition as pronounced by the Honorable Premier in his address. In our effort to ensure that all infrastructure departments and implementing agents within the province conform to a uniform system of planning, procuring and delivery of infrastructure, through our infrastructure delivery management system, we have endorsed and adopted a uniform framework for reporting to allow for seamless monitoring of implementation across all the project cycles by the provincial infrastructure governance structures on a monthly basis. This will surely make it easy to identify blockages and propose interventions in the planning and delivery of infrastructure projects throughout the financial year. Honourable Speaker, our provincial allocations are derived from our receipt of equitable shares, conditional grants, and provincial owned revenue. In this regard, the provincial equitable share accounts for approximately 83.4% of the provincial sources of funding. The 2023-24 provincial equitable share is 65.349 billion, growing to 67.974 billion and 71.5 billion in 24-25 and 25-26 financial years respectively. The provincial conditional grants allocations amount to 34.1 billion over the 2023 MTEF period, with 11.3 billion allocated in 23-24, 11.1 billion in 24-25, and 11.6 billion in 25-26 financial years. We are happy to announce that the provincial owned revenue management and maximization strategies continues to yield positive results in augmenting national equitable share. The target for provincial owned revenue is in 2023-24 is 1.7 billion, an increase of 15.4% from 2022-23 baseline. This further projected to increase to 1.794 billion in 24-25 and 1.882 billion in 25-26 financial years respectively. Included in the equitable share provision for the province are the following allocations: 585.551 million in 23-24 and 661.7 million in 24-25 for new data updates, 578.731 million, 969.789 million, and 1.446 million in 2023 MTEF I'm sorry. I think I've already alluded to that one. 1.174, 1.2 billion and 1.26 billion in 2023 MTEF, or 3% wage for 3% wage increase. 884.6 million for presidential youth employment initiatives in education in 2023-24 financial year, 40.8 million and 48.6 million for social development, welfare, NGO funding in 23-24 and 24-25 financial years respectively, 389.1 million and 540.5 million for health sector in 23-24, 24-25 years respectively, 867.6 million and 907.3 million for education sector in 23-24 and 24-25 years respectively. 866.7 million, 906.6 million, and 944.079 million in health for pressures in COE and service backlog in the 2023 MTEF. 655.6 million, 796.8 million, and 885.4 million in education for compensation of employees' pressures in 2023 MTEF. Our Premier, the provincial share of the national revenue will never be sufficient to service the competing socio-economic needs of our society. This always necessitates the collection of provincial revenue by both departments and public entities in line with the Constitution of the Republic. Hence, as a province, we continuously invest in revenue enhancement projects, which includes, amongst others, infrastructure improvement in the Limpopo wildlife resorts, extension of the motor vehicle registration and licensing authorities in all 5 districts to improve access to services that are already being rendered by municipalities on behalf of the Department of Transport. Extension of K53 learners and driver's license function, piloting with Vembe and Capricorn District, and demarcation of additional parking bays in the Department of Health's facilities. In the 2023-24 financial year, the revenue enhancement projects identified for implementation includes commercialization of resorts and improvement of reservation system by LEDA, and the installation of electricity prepaid meters for state houses by the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure. The Department of Transport is supported further to continue with the extension of K53 learners and driver's license projects. This department and the Limpopo Gambling Board remains the highest revenue generators for the province through tax receipts. The provincial departments and public entities that generate revenue above their own credible set targets qualifies to apply for revenue retention to invest in revenue enhancement projects and other socio-economic projects. This serves as an incentive for those that are able to step up and collect more revenue so that they can also get something that they can utilize on their own. And I hope that will be encouragement enough for departments and public entities to generate revenue above the set targets. As Provincial Treasury, we hold revenue enhancement bilateral meetings quarterly to provide support to departments in the identification and implementation of revenue enhancement projects. The projects identified are envisaged to generate more revenue for the province, while on the other hand, access to services and creating job opportunities. All Premier, the allocation for the current payments is 66.2 billion in 23-24, 68.9 billion in 24-25, and 71.5 billion in 25-26 financial years, and represents 83.7% of the total allocation. Included in the current payment is compensation of employees allocation, which represent 65.7% of the total budget and is allocated 52 billion in 23-24, 53.8 billion in 24-25, and 55.2 billion in 25-26 financial years, respectively. The compensation of employees is increasing by 2.5% from 50.7 billion in 22-23 to 52 billion to provide for exiting staff carry-through costs for 22-23 salary increases and other liabilities such as pay progression, grade progressions, and other areas, and also for the filling of the vacant posts that are existing. Speaker, the province has made significant strides in reducing the percentage of the provincial budget spent on compensation of employees, which has reduced from over 72% of the budget in the previous years to the current 65.7%. So we have moved from 72% to 65.7% in terms of COE reduction. And I think it's quite an achievement for us as a province. And this has allowed the province to allocate additional funds to service delivery and infrastructure spending. Goods and services represents 17.9% of the total allocation and is allocated 14.1 billion in 2023-24 financial year, 15.1 billion and 16.2 billion in 24-25 and 25-26 financial years, respectively. The goods and services allocation increased by 2.899 billion or 25.7% from 2022-23, 23-24 financial year to to provide for contractual obligations and non-negotiable items that were having a budget shortfall that were funded in the 2022-23 adjustment budget. The allocation for transfers and subsidies is 9.983 billion in 2023-24, and it will reduce to 9.215 billion in 2024-25, and increase to 9.691 billion in 25-26 financial year. The allocation is intended for transfer to our public entities, schools, funded non-profit organizations, service providers for construction of human settlement houses under human settlement grant, and for payments of leave gratuity for staff exiting the public service. The payment for capital assets increased from 2.667 billion in 22-23 to 2.937 billion in 23-24. It will reduce to 2.2 billion in 24-25 and further reduce to 2.1 billion in 25-26 financial years respectively. The allocation is for construction of fixed structures, machinery and equipment, biological assets, as well as software and intangible assets. An amount of 1.9 billion or 65.1% of the payments for capital assets budget is allocated to buildings and other fixed structures, which is infrastructure investment and should assist in job creation in the construction sector. Overall, the provincial expenditure allocation will increase from the 78.1 billion in the adjustment budget of 22-23 to 79.1 billion in 23-24, then grows to 80.4 billion in 24-25, and further increases to 83.4 billion in 25-26 financial years. Honourable Speaker, the following will be allocations as per departments. Vote 1, the Office of the Premier is allocated 438.3 million in 23-24, 454.2 million in 24-25, and 469.9 million in 25-26 financial years. And included in the allocations is 23.5 million earmarked funding to implement ICT-related projects in the province, the provincial energy strategy, and the provincial ICT infrastructure assessment audit. Vote 2, the provincial legislature receives an allocated budget of 492.4 million in 23-24, 470 million in 24-25, and 487.2 million in 25-26 financial year. Vote 3, the Department of Education receives the highest share of 48.2% of the provincial budget. This department, Education, receives the highest share of 48.2% of the provincial budget. The department is allocated 38.1 billion in 23-24, 39.3 billion in 24-25, and 40.6 billion in 24-25 financial years respectively. I'm just emphasizing it because we expect much from it. The 2023 allocation includes 884.6 million for presidential youth employment initiatives, 36.9 million for sanitary dignity project, 655.6 million additional compensation of employees for educators, 100 million for e-education, 100 million for storm damaged schools, 70 million for improvement of matric results projects, 3.3 billion for conditional grants, and 772 million from own revenue. That is the money that we are giving from our own revenue that we have collected. Vote 4, the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development is allocated a budget of 1.7 billion in 23-24, 1.8 billion in 24-25, and 1.9 billion in 25-26 financial years respectively. The allocation includes 340.36 million in 23-24 financial year for conditional grants. Included in the department's allocation is an amount of 30 million for revitalization of agriculture and agro-processing value chain, commonly known as RAVAC projects. Vote 5, the provincial treasury receives a budget of 457.6 million in 23-24, 473 million in 24-25, and 489 million in 25-26 financial year. Included in the department's allocation are national priority funding of 11.2 million for municipal intervention capacity building and 5.4 million for infrastructure capacity building programs. Vote 6, the Department of Economic Development, Environment and Tourism is allocated a budget of 1.4 billion in 23-24, 1.404 billion in 24-25, and 1.422 billion in 2025-26 financial year. Included in the allocation is 1.9 million for EPWP conditional grant and 603 million for transfer to public entities. The public entities transfers amount include 215 million for Musina Makado Special Economic Zone and Fetaho Mutubats Industrial Park, 22.7 million for tourism marketing to be transferred to the Limpopo Tourism Agency. The department is responsible for economic development in the province, and the allocation also includes an amount of 20 million for the state resort refurbishment, 8.5 million for reserve commercialization, and 1.9 for the implementation of a resort central reservation system. The department is also allocated 50 million for waste management and air quality control projects. Vote 7, the Department of Health received the second highest allocations of the provincial budget at 30% of our budget. The total allocation to the department is 23.7 billion in 23-24, 24.1 billion in 24-25, and 25.2 billion in 2025-26 financial years. Included in the 23-24 allocation is 119.9 million for placement of medical graduates, and I hope you are happy, Madam Doctor. 192.9 million for employment of doctors, 50 million for the purchase of ambulances, and 20 million for Cuban doctor program. The allocation also includes 3.9 billion for conditional grants and 637 million from own revenue. Vote 8, the Department of Transport and Community Safety is allocated 2.4 billion in 23-24, 2.480 billion in 24-25, and 2.5 billion in 25-26 financial years respectively. Included in the 2023-24 allocated is 442.9 million for conditional grants, 70.4 million for transfer to Gateway Airport Authority Limited, 98.6 million for provincial priorities, which include 30 million for revitalization of traffic training college, 33 million for construction of K53 projects, 3 million for GAAL project, 6.7 million for the revitalization of traffic stations, 6 million for the finalization of Toyando taxi facility, which is one of the oldest as well, which we hope that we should be able to come to its final conclusion, and 20 million for the implementation of service delivery projects at Gateway Airport Authority Limited. Vote 9. The Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure receives a budget allocation of 4.9 billion in 23-24, 4.3 billion in 24-25, and 4.5 billion in 25-26 financial years. Included in the allocation is 150 million for municipal rates and taxes. This is the money that we are giving to municipalities which are being owed for rates and taxes, and 130 million for ZCC R71 interchange road project, 100 million for purchase of building as per executive committee council resolution, 10 million of purchase of 100 million for purchase of yellow fleet, 20 million for refurbishment of LEDA Street building, 30 million for construction of roads at Musina Makado SCZ, and 6 million to install prepaid electricity meters in state-owned properties. The allocation also includes 1.8 billion for conditional grants, part of which will be allocated to Roads Agency Limpopo as part of RAL's allocation of 2 billion for roads, maintenance and upgrading, partnerships and other operational costs. We have gone to the 2 billion mark now. Means now we must go to 3 billion mark. Making sure that we are able to provide for infrastructure, road infrastructure in the province. Vote 10, Sports, Arts and Culture receives an allocation of 6.21 million in 23-24, 690.3 million in 24-25, and 775.7 million in 25-26 financial year. The allocation is for 23-24 includes conditional grants allocations amounting to 221.8 million. Included is in the departmental 23-24 allocation is 10 million for provincial theatre, 10 million, because we haven't yet started. Vote 11, the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs is allocated a budget of 2.5 billion in 23-24, 2.6 billion in 24-25, and 2.7 billion in 25-26 financial year. Included in the allocation is conditional grant allocation of 1.2 billion, of which 946 million is for human settlement development grant, and 281.3 million is for informal settlement upgrading partnership grant, and 1.9 million is for EPWP grant. The allocation for 23-24 financial year also include 25 million for construction and maintenance of traditional council offices, 5 million for finishing of traditional council offices, and 55 million for purchase of vehicles for senior traditional leaders, which is only the first phase. No, don't worry. No, we are a responsible government. The Department of Vote 12, the Department of Social Development will receive 1.9 billion in 23-24, 2 billion in 24-25, and 2.091 billion in 25-26 financial year. And the allocation includes a conditional grant allocation of 10.2 million for expanded public works program. Included in the budget allocation for 23-24 and over the MTEF are the funds for conversion of social work grant to equitable share, food relief function shift, and gender-based violence, and additional 40.8 million for the payment of existing welfare NGOs. On Speaker, like the water droplets cutting through the rock, our unique strength, our optimism and work ethic, our spirit of retrieve and our diversity gives us everything we need to ensure prosperity and security for generations to come. All Premier, allow me to express my admiration to you for developing a solid plan and the tenacity to see it through to the end through your visionary leadership and patience. And to my colleagues in the Executive Council, thank you very much for your continued support and cooperation. To Honorable Rudolph Holanipala, the chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Provincial Treasury, your continued oversight and support is appreciated at all times, and I sincerely thank you. HOD, Gavin Pratt and Team Treasury, thank you for your hard work and commitment. Let me also take this one opportunity to thank my wife, and children for unwavering support. I also wish to thank the people of our province for their resilience and understanding that there are no shortcuts. I wish to thank the people of our province for their resilience and understanding that there are no shortcuts, for their consciousness that we need to focus on a long haul by turning quantitative changes into qualitative ones. Let us indeed become the dripping water that drills through the hard rock. Ke a leboga ha cancer. Ngiyabonga.
For the presentation of the budget. We may now move to, before that, the bill together with its supporting documents are referred to the Portfolio Committee on Provincial Treasury for consideration and to report back to the House. Thanks very much. We may now move to item 8. I will allow Honorable Chair of Chess, Honorable Munyamani, to come and give the announcement.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, members of the Legislature, our special guest, our Provincial Secretary of the ANC, Vumadache Tobel. Honorable Speaker, our announcement will be as follows. Lunch for honorable members will be served in the main boardroom committee service wing, and the lunch for the guests will be served in the basement parking in Block 1. Honorable Speaker, lastly, I would like to remind Chairperson of Portfolio Committees of our meeting tomorrow at Parliamentary Village at 9, and immediately after the meeting we will be joining the Premier at Rama Tlala Tower for the International Women's Day. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Munyamani. I think this brings us to the end of our session. The House is adjourned to Thursday,